I hope you all enjoyed the preview. Thank you so much for being here today. This is our fourth and final open rehearsal of SummerFest 2025. My name is Allison Bowles. I'm the Director of Learning and Engagement here at the Conrad. Today we get to hear a masterpiece, Beethoven's String Quartet in E-flat major, Opus 127. This work will appear on the concert on Friday. It'll actually close the program. And the concert is titled Profound Reflections, which fittingly, this piece was written in the final years of Beethoven's life. So we have four wonderful musicians here with us today. Would you all like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Benjamin Beilman.
Hi everybody, Andrew Huang.
Kyril Zlotnikov.
Hsin-Yun, Huang.
Wonderful. So they will get to rehearse for the next about 45 minutes, and then we have a very special treat today. Our guest scholar, Ara Guzalimian, will be here to lead a Q&A with the artists and hold a conversation for the last 15 minutes of our open rehearsal today. A few housekeeping items before we begin. Please take a moment to silence all electronic devices and locate the nearest emergency exit, keeping in mind that it may be behind you. Please no photos or videos of any kind. We are live streaming today, and you're welcome to go online and enjoy this over and over again if you'd like. And then finally, please keep in mind that this is a working rehearsal for these artists, and their time is very precious. You can support them by remaining quiet during the event, and if you need to leave, no worries. You're welcome to come in and out as needed. Just please do so quietly. Thank you so much, and please enjoy.
Just as a quick heads up, we're rehearsing the final movement of this quartet. We're sort of smack in the middle of it, so apologies if it doesn't make sense at first.
81 area. These pickups, maybe we treat them slightly differently. Do you guys just want to address that?
Yeah, I don't know if this makes sense. I was treating this as a kind of more sung. Slightly longer. Do you guys have the same, do you have the Kyles for the pickups? The little accent things? No. To me, at least bowing-wise, I'm doing this kind of as it comes, starting from pickup to 81, if that makes sense. Yeah. Can we maybe back up to 74, 5, 6, 7?
Sure.
I loved reinforcing that, the second fortissimo. And then when we get to the next phrase, which is actually back down to forte,
Yeah, just forte.
Let's just release a little.
I would love to
that
hear
would
in
be very,
70 your variation.
Oh.
So where from?
Right on there, that fortissimo?
Okay.
Invisible tiny comma before pianissimo, so we can really make it a little different. So and I would play this piano before that just normally in light, but so we have the this one. And so 95, yeah, we have the beginning of question. Could it be the beginning of this bar that's the lowest dynamically point? So. And then we go up.
Is that better, like the pickups? It seemed like to...
I think we shortened ours, and that, I think it's okay. I think it's still sung, but then it's now matching.
Could it 91?
Sure. 88. Yep. Pick up to it?
He's so consistent with, because this time now we have the wedges here, right? Like at 249 in this music.
I feel like he must have just been omitting half of these.
Yeah,
sections,
so-
right?
yeah.
Otherwise, like it's implied most of the time. Getting into this komodo, do you have the same marking as me this with this trill? And then all of a sudden, no, it's just me that changes. And good, you changed. You're the entire time. Can I try this with you? I'm gonna
Sure.
try and
Well,
sort of accelerando into the major.
I see.
Does that make sense?
I love it. Does our entrance make sense?
Trill of the speed of the trill.
The speed, and then when I change to the major, then it immediately.
Okay, sure. Sorry, Hsin-Yun.
No, just wondering if our cue, our timing fits with what you imagine. Does it feel like when you this last time
Yeah.
was more?
Komodo
or less-
is comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Comfy? Yeah, as long as it has that easy swing to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the quarter note kind of become the eighth note? Is it bum, 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 ba-da?
Well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, going back a little bit, I was wondering about just, so in this return, so going from like 186 area, first the cello is so high, right? And then gradually that sonority, we sort of get turned inside out a little bit, and then he dips. And then we get excited with that. Wondering if there's a way of exaggerating some of the differences. You know, because the first time everything is relatively balanced, but this time there's something a little extreme. When we and then of course then your line yamba. I feel like something a little more, just a little more outside the box,
Totally.
just in terms of what we can do with the music. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind covering some of this middle stuff
Yeah,
again in that
one more time,
160s, 170s, some of that stuff.
Yeah, like, so for instance, we should support you a bit differently, like 188, 190, 190, that whole area, and then coming back. It's all very subtle. Do you know what I mean? But like just listening to how the voices are dipping.
Here, 191, do we all have piano dolce?
Yeah,
There's something revealing about that, you know, before it's been, as you say, like kind of spooky outside
Right.
the box, and then all of a sudden, you
Yes.
should feel like,
yeah.
warmer,
Right,
now our breath has
right.
settled. Yeah.
Because your line really changes. So, yeah, no, we should maybe just do that again. That would be great.
Could we get into 160 area? Could we like do 150? I don't know. From
Kyril's
153.
favorite spot.
Get into Kyril's. Yes. No, we could
Give
do
me
the,
another chance.
yeah, one phrase before. Maybe 153.
Okay?
153, yep.
think we need to be careful how we were maybe too much in the beginning of the
Little bit,
crescendo,
yeah.
right? We just wasn't continuous.
It started too soon, I think. no?
Yeah. Do you want to go from your bum ba da dee dum?
What do you think if we arrive to this pianissimo, which is really high there, and not start something, but kind of sneak in, like not starting something really kind of too present. Could you
Good.
try that from 178, for example, or pick up to 177?
Pick up to 177.
Yeah, we shouldn't get too not
This
too
is only too
strong.
forte.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
maybe a little warmer.
No.
And I actually wondered also, maybe we pushed the sound a little too impatiently, that progression starting at 271. We should just be a bit more patient.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Sorry, can you say that again? Hsin-Yun?
No, to
No,
start
just,
crescendo
I
too
think
early to
I think
71.
we were too loud,
Yeah.
too soon, yeah. We should also make sure that we hear you still beginning of 281. You're when you're so low, and maybe we need to dip more.
Yep.
Yeah, somehow balance, yeah.
I wonder if even in the fortissimo, yes, it should be triumphant, but if it can still have the same flow that we had with a little bit to the middle of the bars,
Nice,
something.
yeah.
Seems like the shape at 267, 268, like getting into the key changes, you're going into your pianissimo, so kind of like a decrescendo, 268, right? Bum, 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 ba, ram, bum, bum, bum. To set up your scales, right? Like, just confirming. Do you want to do the Allegro Komodo one more time?
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be really nice for when we start the Allegro Komodo, the 262 when it starts. No, 259, yeah? After our entrance. So to get a little bit more contrast between and the so I think the secondary voice can be much like a carpet, you know? Not to go too much with the shape of the so to get a layer of contrast, which will be much easier for the balance and also musically much more convincing.
Probably better for ensemble too.
Yeah, I think it's kind of simpler, you know. Not to just little contrast of how we different attitude a little bit.
Hsin-Yun, how are you doing that motive?
Well, I was just thinking I didn't like how I was sounding. I'm sorry.
Sounded good to me.
No. Andrew, I would love to try with you to the I want to be able to match you better. I wasn't doing the right thing, but and then I'll come back to that.
No problem.
Because I think I need to.
I mean, we kind of do kind of quasi dolce.
Yeah,
and
but
and then
why
crescendo
don't you
will get
play?
a little
Can I
bit
just play
more
with you?
agitato.
I love to just play with you.
285?
Yeah.
All right.
It's the second note. I'm not doing it with you. That's great. Yeah,
that
that's
sound okay?
great. That's great. That's what we can match you. That's version of it.
So I actually feel this should be the opposite. If the other one is da-dum, if it goes to the second one, I'm thinking of this more a little bit like
That's beautiful. Yeah.
kind of slow bass.
So,
Yeah.
are you doing that bowing?
Yeah.
Are you doing up? Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Sounds great. I'll do that. Okay. Is the timing okay into Allegro, Comodo, where we come in? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We'll hold as long as you wish.
Oh, no.
Can we
Should
try
we just try the whole thing again?
once more? Yeah, Comodo.
That's great.
Maybe a couple bars before? Yes. Can we do 2 before?
Okay.
Do a targo. Somehow it needs more.
It needs more
Titillation or
rhythm.
something, yeah.
I think we're too smooth. The
Yeah.
da, 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 da. Like, I think let's not hide the texture, you know. I also wondered, you know, the ya da 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 da, that 2 bars.
Yeah.
Could we tie them together? Let's really try to avoid an accent, the downbeat of 290.
290.
290 is where I feel,
Where we
oh,
join
no,
in.
we play. We feel like, yeah. If we could play through it all.
That's exactly wanted to speak about these 2 bars. I think if we start the first one with the same feeling how we want to play the second bar, when we have in the unison, then it will just connect it. Because we
Okay.
play first bar like ta 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 ta, and then yo da 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 da.
Right.
So if we start feeling the first bar like let's feel it's 2 bars is the same way. Yo da 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 da. Yo ba ba ba. It's like the second wave, but not different. Yeah, with this kind of more kind of wide, broad feeling.
Yeah.
And since if we start now from there, the chords that we're playing, the syncopation chords, they feel like exactly like last three chords that we play at the end.
Duration?
It's still no duration. The feeling, it's syncopation. Not down bass. We play them almost exactly the same. I mean, nobody would say that.
Of course.
Would feel that it's different. Yeah.
And that would probably affect our.
Almost like
Then maybe we should come in like really in time in the pianissimo to show that it was a syncopation.
More syncopation feeling.
Yeah. Can we get into 285 one more time?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna.
281, maybe?
Yep.
We should really like bow down to you there. The timing is
Thank you.
really up to you. No, really. You shouldn't accommodate.
Okay.
We go with you.
I try.
You know, you just be comfortable.
281.
281?
The downbeat, 295, will show that this is the downbeat. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, so this
291, you mean?
295, 293.
Three.
Yeah, sorry, 293. So this to show this change that, now it's the downbeat, not, yeah. I still feel that 289, this fortissimo could be with broader feeling. Not necessarily slow, but with broader feeling, because we suddenly feels like starting much faster than.
So maybe.
Like imagine we play this. Exactly. Like we already
Little
played this
spread.
passage.
And then the next one, actually the opposite.
Exactly.
Go on.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's try that one more time. I thought it was so much nicer.
Absolutely.
Did you feel okay?
Yes. Thanks.
Same place or same place?
281?
Okay.
Wonderful.
I love it.
293.
Fortissimo penultimate chord. Pum, pum. Right.
All these passages, I would try to think of playing them as slow as possible in the tempo and not as fast as possible in the tempo. You know, all the 16 notes. I mean, in the piano, this. It feels like a kind of to take as much as possible time that we have for them, and not already fast enough. You know?
Yeah. Right. The Komodo thing, for him, that was indicating slower side, right? Allegro Komodo is not Allegro con spirito. It's not. Right.
So we can speak out, you know, all these little notes. Well, at least the ending we have.
At least right now.
I'm sure tomorrow as well.
Should we go to?
Should we cover some third?
Sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Full-time quartet player, the combination of the first part to the presto, do you see it as having a metronome relation?
quarter
about
note
right.
equals
That sounds
bar.
about right, yeah.
Ideally. I mean, we don't have to, it can be very close.
What's scarier than those rests right there before the presto, right? What's scarier than that?
I mean, the whole piece is scary.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, so he doesn't write any dynamic here.
Correct.
Yeah, so, I mean, of course, it's not for forte, but maybe pom, like opening, pom, more operatic maybe. Pom, 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 pom.
Then there's a nice timing into the second bar.
Bum, 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 bum.
Nice, let's do that. Sorry, that was great, that's great. Let's just do that again.
I think it would be great to, if we can avoid as much as possible to make a swell on the long notes before tail. Because then we have later on something like all the swells that he writes. So if we do I think but not
I like how you just did that, where the trill doesn't feel like it's accented. I was probably doing too much of this.
Yeah, especially the long notes, it's a little bother me. And then the feel disappears, kind of. Yeah. More kind of noble in a way of shape of it. Second time? Yeah. No, it's fine. Maybe I took too much time. It's like I'm imagining to separate it immediately.
Okay, so
take a breath kind of on this a bit.
can I do, yeah.
But not on the last note, kind of on the gruppetto, yeah? On the last thing. Yeah, on the like half a bar. Just think about, and I think also if we don't have to do anything, just to think that we have 8 notes and 16 notes on this. Otherwise, it's the same. dynamic in allegro, no? What do you think?
I actually was doing a little on purpose
A
because,
little bit more you
well,
want?
because he writes that pianissimo again in tempo primo, and it always makes me wonder.
Oh, you're
if
right,
he-
you're right,
you
yeah.
know, I
Maybe-
always wonder maybe he just missed a little bit, maybe
Like
in terms
first
of
time, yeah?
character, like a unsavory character in the opera. Someone a little bit ominous.
Of course. Is this the right tempo if we're doing the relation? 1, 2, da-dum.
It could be even more kind of flowing.
In the allegro?
I think so. Or do you think it's too fast?
It depends on how you want to
Comparison.
do the math. It's
I would do a little kind of more like less spookiness, kind of
How does the tempo of the vivace feel to you all?
ghosty.
Like, does it feel like agitato enough?
The vivace feels okay,
Feels okay.
because actually I think then it gives us room for the presto to
Right.
really
Go.
have a sense of danger,
Right.
right? I don't know, I was not treating this allegro thing too vertically. I was thinking a little more, almost like paraphrasing in little opera, kind of something just really unrelated. So hence maybe the rubato. A little bit wandering
Yep.
out of context. Maybe it's okay.
Where we can start. Fortissimo, 80, 60 maybe? Or
60?
60. Okay.
I wonder if sometimes the padam, if this third note or this last note is a little too short. It should have this feeling of trying to lift something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Andrew, I thought when we start together, 51, something
Yep.
like that, yeah? I think we could try to think on the, especially, I mean, it has tendency to land on each downwind.
Each
yeah?
time, yeah.
So if we could think of like longer
Sure.
line as a, especially this downbeats as a melody. Yeah? Otherwise, then it will not be exactly the same every time.
Could you try
We will
from the
know.
fortissimo?
Mm-hmm.
Second time.
Which was this one? Ah, okay.
That's the second ending going on.
Second line.
Maybe a tiny bit more
Sure. Let's do it. Let's do it.
hesitant, more
But that was,
questioning. Yeah.
Instead of maybe 78 to start kind of just louder, but maybe with the character. Because
Sure,
it feels like
sure,
it
sure.
comes out a little bit maybe.
Yeah. It's a little unnatural. Yeah. I heard that. Great. Absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
Let's do directly Allegro.
I think we have a friend. We have a friend.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Ara Guzalimian, and it's such a treat to be with Ben Beilman and Andrew Huang and Kyril Zlotnikov and Hsin-Yun Huang. And we will interrupt the very much working process you've been observing for 15 minutes of a little bit of exploring actually what we just heard and talking about the process. Being around music and musicians all my life, I'm still amazed at the process we're witnessing, which is the incredible, unbelievably subtle radar all musicians have to develop. As you heard, some decisions are made in conversation, in discussion, and trying things together. But for all of the spoken ones, there are about 1 million decisions being made that are simply in the act of listening. And so I just wanted to talk a little about some of what we heard. We've been hearing the piece backwards. We heard the fourth movement for much of the rehearsal, and now we've been hearing work on the third movement. And I do want to jump, if you don't mind, to the fourth movement and ask you about a couple of places. First of all, there was a really interesting conversation that happened in shorthand and very quickly about a key decision Ben and Hsin-Yun made about the phrasing of the principal theme of the movement as it alters in the Allegro Comodo. And I was wondering if the two of you could slow down that conversation and sort of demonstrate the two different ways of playing that phrase and how you came to the decision you did. Just as an illustration of the incredibly microscopic decisions that are made 1,000 times in a piece like this and completely affect the character of what we hear.
So this section that Ara is referring to, it's marked Allegro Comodo, which is, kind of joyful tempo. Comodo means comfortable, though. So it's this idea that you should be at ease, it should be flowing, it should be happy, but not with fire. And then it's also marked in 6/8 meter. So it has that beautiful combination of being kind of a dance in 3, but also in 2. There's sort of a 3 rhythm, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. And that could be interpreted so many different ways. But for my ears, in the way that I see Beethoven writing this, he clearly wants you to connect the first 2 notes and then kind of make it come away. So my understanding of this motive to me, it's always most strong on the beginning of each half bar, essentially. Instead of. To me, that would be off-kiltered, or I don't know.
I just actually want to say that, of course, this music is based completely on harmony. And so Ben's instinct, correctly, it's based on tonic, the sense that its root is the right feeling of the key. So that's the key. Whereas the other, where Ara was talking about how we very subtly we're phrasing to the middle of the bar, and it's to question it because the harmony there is in fact a 6/4. So that means things are turned a little bit upside down, so it doesn't feel quite as seated. And so somehow these things are instinctive, somehow in our blood, I think. And I think when we understand each other, we don't need to go further.
And what they just explained in some detail in the actual rehearsal happened in amazing shorthand with very few words exchanged and the agreement reached. And also just the change in character. This is just the thing about the piece. Ben, could you just play the theme as it is in the beginning and then how it's altered in the Allegro Comodo? Yeah. And what we hear later in the movement, in the passage we were talking about, is just a rhythmically altered version of the same melody. Da-dee-da-da-dum, except rhythmically altered. The other thing I was struck by in listening, and this applies to all of you, when in a festival situation you're put together in a group that's new to you, and if it's a work you've played before, and Kyril is member of the Jerusalem Quartet, Hsin-Yun played in the Borromeo Quartet, do you have to sort of actively suspend any knowledge of the piece in a sense and resist the temptation to say, wait, we've decided all this, this is how it goes, and adjust to a completely, do you have to invent it anew each time, particularly in a situation like this?
Well, it's a yes and no. I mean, it's like a balance of things. Some things, like from your experience, and you know what works better on the stage, because you can have a lot of opinions. You know, string quartets is always at least 5 opinions. And of course, what you did before, and you know what works better after hours and hours and many times that you play this piece, and you can suggest. But for me, it's super interesting also to try with new people, new things. And I always, for example, learn from trying different ways, and I say, oh, I'm just used to it, but wow, this is better, and maybe more exciting. Well, I never thought about it. So it happens all the time. So it's super interesting, you know, kitchen of how we do things. And for us as a quartet members that play with the same people, and of course some things we don't even have to speak about it. I know it's very challenging, but super interesting. And I mean, you have to be very flexible. And you see, in this festival, also yesterday I played the Schubert Quintet, which I played so many times in my life with great second cellists like Gary Hoffman and others. And really, the first time we played together, and for me, it was one of the best performances of Schubert. So it's always...
For us, too.
Thank you.
And I guess a similar question. I mean, both Andrew and Ben are hugely experienced chamber musicians, although perhaps not in a fixed quartet setting. Coming into one of these towering pieces like this, in which, you know, a Guarneri quartet spends 40 years refining, 45 years refining. Could you just talk about the process of sort of your own understanding of the piece and your own expectations, and then the adjustments that are actually made?
Okay, Matt.
I feel lucky to be playing it with these 3 others. I did text Ben before the rehearsal, and I said I was petrified. Because it's just you know, actually several people have said that this piece in particular, they have used the same word to describe it, and they say it's a beast. It's a beast because technically it's challenging for everybody individually, but also there's like, we have to wrap our heads around many decisions. There's just infinite number of decisions that we have to make, and if we don't make these decisions, it can become a failure. So it's a pleasure to work with people that are open to, you know, discussing things and be flexible. That's really fantastic.
I think there's an inherent amount of hubris in trying to put together a piece like this in such a short amount of time. So I think, at least for me, I sort of accepted before we even met for the first time that this is not supposed to be the pivotal, be-all, end-all interpretation. It's four people meeting in a very specific time, doing what we can to make this the highest possible experience. And I think because, well, there's a difficulty of not being a fixed ensemble and not having the intuitive sense of this is how Hsin-Yun is going to do this sense of timing, or this is how Kyril prefers to make this color. But what I find most difficult about this specific piece is this is Beethoven not with a clenched fist, but he's trying to reach whatever, the stars, galaxies. There's something so tender and human about it, so you can't rely on the typical things that you would with a less experienced group. You can't rely on just passion and fire. There has to be a sense of understanding, I think.
I actually have a question
Yeah.
for the rest of, I mean, I find myself, I do have a slightly, I have a group of people that I play with some regularity. I find myself being much more malleable and more open to trying things in the settings like this. Do you feel that way? Or in your quartet, do you feel you have that freedom to try?
I just want to add, it's just an enormous privilege, really, to play with musicians that I really respect, and I know we all come to it. We've all come prepared, knowing that we're going to try to do our very best. And that feels great, and I think that reflects in the open-mindedness in the way we rehearse, and yeah, because there's no time to discuss, and so, in some ways, I don't know if it's less or more malleable, but I genuinely, in every situation, every chamber music working could be something you know very well or something you don't know well. It's just always a new beginning. It's always a new group, and I feel like I need to. At least the attitude I carry is I come in trusting, not going to say I know more, because I don't, because I don't. Not until I've played with you, then I don't know how I'm going to respond. So.
One thing that Ben said made me think this is a particularly tricky and enigmatic piece in character, and what you didn't hear is the extraordinary slow movement, which is really the heart of the piece. You'll hear it tomorrow night. And it occupies the bulk of the time of the piece. And then you have these two movements coming out of this movement of incredible emotional depth. And there are some quartets, this is a gross overstatement, which they might object to. There are some pieces that, in a basic setting, the piece goes. This is kind of the polar opposite of that. And especially in both of these movements, the scherzo and the last movement, there are so many changes of character, so many changes of dynamic. I mean, when you look at the score, every measure goes from fortissimo to piano to forte to pianissimo to forte, and you'd get whiplash if it was observed completely kind of academically. So could you talk about maybe your sense of the character of especially the last movement, because I do find it enigmatic and the kind of striving, as Ben said, towards something. It's not an easy resolution.
I think it's trickier because we're used to Beethoven in the most dramatic contrasts.
Right.
He looks for contrast, he looks for conflict, he looks for things not to align. And actually, so that's why in something like the Grosse Fuge, which is this, phenomenal double fugue that he writes, somehow that's easier to play because you play as strongly as you can and the piece doesn't suffer. This, well, forget I said that. But the last movement, what Ara was talking about, the changes are often fairly subtle. So subtly, there are little things, little variation that goes on here and there. And the dynamics, forte, poco, mezzo, like it's true that he's not looking to be very jarring. And hence the sensitivity amongst the players, the quickness and to subtle changes, I find just, it takes superb incredible virtuosos. You know, I mean, I really, these are amazing colleagues, and somehow I think, how could you play up in that position? How could you very suddenly just stop? Because they, you know, they're so humble, they're amazing, so, yeah.
Well, and even the very ending, this is a bit of a setup, so you play the end of the piece. So we can have the emotional release of applauding and the ending this session. Even the very ending is so Beethovenian and enigmatic in sort of almost ending, not quite letting go of the piece. Is it witty? Is it with a little bit of regret? It's got all of this complexity. Even the very ending demands lots of very subtle decision making, which you heard in process. So to take us out and allow us a chance to cheer you, why don't you pick a logical starting point, and in the last couple of pages of the quartet, and let us hear that one more time. And then if we can ask, they will keep rehearsing, and they will continue to do so in privacy. And after we have a chance to cheer them, that's our cue to leave the hall and let them continue working in peace. But before we do that, I just wanted to express huge admiration and thanks to these four glorious musicians.
Last movement or
Last movement?
or the end of the third?
I think let's do the end of let's do the fourth. Yeah.
Where from?
Let's do
Recapitulation?
Recap?
Where is that?
from 188. Okay. Or 184, 5, 6, 7. Sorry. 187.
187. Got it.
Is there any water from downstairs?
My son even flashed on our much younger selves meeting with Isaac Stern. That Conrad. I had